it's the foundation of responsible political campaigning. Today, representatives of several political parties will take to the stage of the Nasrec Centre in Johannesburg to sign and pledge their support for the IEC's Code of Conduct. Pule Letshwiti-Jones is covering this for us and joins us now live. Pule, just take us through the process that happens before every election for all political parties taking part.
Well, a very good morning, Annika, and political parties this morning expected to actually, come together and read sign the code of conduct that will allow them to abide to the electoral, rules, which will then say that their supporters, candidates, and of course party leaders need to adhere to this process to ensure that the elections are free and fair. But I also have an IEC official, Ms. Janet Love, who's going to take us through the process of actually giving us more context around what may be done by political parties and what sanctions could be encountered if they do not adhere to these rules. Ms. Love, thank you for joining us this morning on eNCA. Now, it's been a challenging journey to this the local government elections that are expected to take place within a few days, and parties here pledging and will be committing themselves to adhering to some of these rules of the political game. Now, what may happen if they do not adhere to the rules? What kind of penalties can they encounter, and what is the process like?
So first of all, everybody has been bound by the rules of the Code of Conduct from the time that the election was proclaimed. What we have here is political parties from the National Party Liaison Committee who are going to, knowing that those rules apply, who are going to commit themselves to ensuring for their membership, for their supporters, that they do everything to enable those rules to actually prevail. If there are difficulties that are encountered because breaches of the rules occur, there are really two options. The first option is that any individual, any party can directly approach the electoral court. Because at the end of the day, for issues that pertain to breach of the Code of Conduct, the sanction that gets applied is a sanction that is applied on the basis of decisions by the electoral court. On the other hand, parties may want first to approach the Electoral Commission to see whether or not there is some way that the Electoral Commission can assist, can possibly even mediate, to actually get some of these things resolved so that court action is not required. To the extent that the Electoral Commission identifies clear breaches itself, it too can approach the electoral court. But the sanction that is applied there are wide-ranging sanctions. They include issues to do with fines, they include issues to do with possible imprisonment, but they also include the possibility for the court to make participation by this or that candidate or even political party something that cannot be countenanced in the light of needing to hold free and fair elections. But that is a decision of the court.
Okay, Ms. Love. We just want to find out something. Has there also been some sort of pushbacks from some of the parties? Because particularly looking at the process and rather to the journey to the local government elections, there's been some sort of pronouncements made by opposition parties saying there has also been, a biasness thereof, especially favouring the ruling party, which is the ANC. Have you been cooperating well with the opposition parties?
I think we've been cooperating very well with all of the political parties to the extent that we have committed ourselves to doing that, both from, even before the first proclamation was announced up until now. It doesn't do any body in this country, it doesn't do any contestant or political party any good to vent a kind of frustration that is unsupported by any evidence, by any facts, to try and undermine the election management body. What we can say is that after the proclamation, the candidate nomination process, which had been a problem for all political parties, by the way, prior to the second proclamation, the candidate nomination process has opened the way to all political parties to put forward candidates, to adjust lists, to add candidates, and so on. And we think as a consequence of that, the electorate, the voters, will indeed be able to have the choice that they wish to have.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. All right, there we go, Annika Lawson, Janet Vice Chairperson there, speaking about how they have been preparing to actually host the local government elections and how they've been working in hand with political parties. But just a background, her pronouncements come in the wake of some parties such as Abantu Integrative Movement and, of course, Action SA having complained about some of the names of their candidates not being on the system, but therefore saying that this was a systematic glitch and that the IEC has admitted to say that it will fix some of these issues. And these are some of the concerns that have been raised by the opposition parties. But the IEC is quite, adamant that it will be holding a free and fair elections, particularly looking at the regulations as pronounced by the president last night, saying that outdoor activities will allow about 2,000 people, which is something the IEC was concerned about in the beginning, but now saying that the elections can be held free and fairly.
All right, thank you so much, Pule. We will be back with you to take that event live.